Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all the praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rachakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Salutations, much love and respect to you. Akim out there pushing this word out in truth and sincerity. Like I said, all praises, glory, and honor is due to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai. And shalom to you, Akim. It's your brother Chayan Apash coming at you with another lesson. And this one is going to be entitled the stable coin is the same play as the Federal Reserve. And this lesson came to me after talking with a brother, about the stable coin really technically being a CBDC. And that's based upon the lesson that the elder Yashawamba and the elder Ariala did. And the elder Ariala looked that up on Grok, the difference. And basically, there was no difference except the fact one is issued by the government and the other is issued by a private company, right? Which we know that the government is pushing forth this particular stable coin. Now, Trump, in time past, because his audience, you have to remember, is against the CBDC. That was a big talking point. But so he said he was against the CBDC, right? But that was all smoke and mirrors. Everything that these politicians do are smoke and mirrors. And Trump is no different. He's just a politician that is controlled by the elites, the wicked elites. And so he said he's gonna create a stable coin. Now, what's the stable coin got to do with anything? The stable coin is pretty much Salakia, man. The stable coin is pretty much a CBDC, that's called by a different name because they're the ones that's issuing it. That's what was proven. And this is why I'm saying that it's the same playbook as the what you call it, the Federal Reserve. It's the same exact playbook. All right, so let's get some scripture because everything is leading to the mark of the beast. All of this is leading to the mark of the beast. Esau is doing it in steps, in stages. Okay, this is Revelations 13, and I'll start at verse 13. It says, "And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh." Matter of fact, you know what? Let's start at 11. It says, "And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon." Now that's dealing with the democratic system in Babylon, in America. Okay, you have the Democrats, you have the Republicans, but at the end of the day, they're on the same beast. Okay, they all have the same goal. They work for the same people. And he exercises all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them that dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. Okay, that's dealing with the Roman Empire. It says, and he doth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, and he deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast. Now the miracles represent his technology. Okay, we're moving towards a technocracy, meaning being ruled through technology. Okay, with the elites at the top. It says that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword and did live. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak, and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand and in their foreheads. Now, what is that mark? The whole goal is to cause them to receive that mark. We always tell you what that mark is. It's the micro C hip. I don't know how much times we got to explain that to you. This is where we're leading. This is where we're being led to, and Trump is leading the charge in America right now towards that. This is why now he's bringing in the CBDC, which is disguised as a stable coin, in air quotations. It says, "In that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name." Okay, so you're not going to be able to buy or sell without having that chip. And what's going to be on that chip? That digital money. They're going to do away with cash completely. Cash is going to be obsolete because cash is an alternative. They want to leave you with no alternatives whatsoever. All right? Everything they do is to gain more and more control. Now, when you read this, right? I asked it, who were the key figures in creating the Federal Reserve and who protested to change the name. It says the Federal Reserve System, created in 1913, was the result of a compromise between private banking interests and public oversight. Here's a breakdown of the key figures involved in the creation and the controversy over its name. The first one is Senator Nelson W. Aldrich. Okay, at first it was supposed to be called what? The Aldrich Bill, right? It was supposed to be called the Aldrich Bill, but they had to change that, right? Because what? Because the people were not with the federal with what they were doing. The bankers, they weren't with what the bankers were doing, so they had to change the name. Okay, it says chairman of the National Monetary Commission. That was his role. It says background: a Republican senator with strong ties to Wall Street and banking interests. Contribution: he led the 1910 secret meeting in Jekyll Island. And why did it have to be secret? Because it was a wickedness behind it. It was against the people. That's why it had to be secret. The scriptures speak about how they dig through houses at night. That they mark for themselves in the day. They dig through houses. How does it say? I think it said they dig through houses in the night that they mark for themselves in the day. Right? Meaning they do these things in secret. And then they go ahead and implement it. They come up with these plans in secret and they go ahead and implement it. Okay. Matter of fact, let me get that that scripture I'm speaking about. Dig. I think it's houses. Dig through houses. Okay, right. This is Joel 24:16. It says, "In the dark they dig through houses," meaning in secret they dig through houses, "which they had marked for themselves. In the daytime they know not the light." So they do everything in the shadows, because what they're doing is wicked. Okay, like even there's a scripture which says that the morning how does it go? The morning light is to them as the shadow of death. Why is it to them as the shadow of death? Because they have to do things in secret, because what they're doing is wicked. Okay, so anyway, so he started, he led the meeting. Says where a blueprint for the Federal Reserve was drafted, often referred to as the Aldrich Bill, right? Because that was what the original name was supposed to be, but because the people were not with it, they had to change the name. Okay, this is the same thing they're doing with this CBDC. They're not calling it CBDC. They're calling it a stable coin. It's all smoke and mirrors. It says Paul Warburg says Roll, a German-born banker, partner at Kuhn, Loeb and CO, contribution provided the intellectual and technical framework for the U.S. central bank, influenced by European models. Note, despite public resistance to central banking, Wahlberg pushed heavily for a Federal Reserve type system. Now, Wahlberg was the guy that protested against the name Aldrich Bill for the fact that he knew that the public was not with it. All right, that was the guy, Paul Wahlberg, right, the Teamanite. All right, it says, while not directly part of the final bill, Morgan and his associates were deeply involved in banking reform discussions. Background, so on and so forth. It doesn't matter. So those were the main two people I wanted to get to speak about, was Aldrich and Warburg. Those are the two I wanted to speak about. Now, when you come to here, I asked it a question about how did, the Federal Reserve take away the people's liberty, and how can the CBDC take away the people's liberty? So it says loss of gold-backed money and real value. So they were taking the real value, which was the gold, from the people. They don't want you to have assets. What did what's his name? Klaus Schwab say? He said, you will own nothing and be happy. They want you to literally own no assets. Because if you own no assets, you're really in perpetual poverty. I don't care how much credits you have. You're in poverty if you don't own any assets, man. All right? Because if the people don't want to sell you their assets, they don't have to sell it to you. And they're never going to sell it. Okay? So you're going to be in a perpetual state of poverty, of owning nothing, of powerlessness. This is how they want you. Right? So it goes into, when it was removed. We know it was removed starting with Roosevelt, and then it was fully removed with Nixon. Okay? It says boom and they all working together. Roosevelt paved the way for Nixon, and whoever was in between, they all work for the same entity. They're on the same beast. I don't care if it's Democrat or Republican, man. Okay, it's these zombies that still believe that this system, there's some good people that are doing their own thing. Ain't nobody doing their own thing, man. All right, they saw what happened to JFK. You can't do your own thing in this system. All right, it says boom and bust cycles. It says the Fed was created to, and it's crazy when you look at the video. It pretty much looks like JFK's driver did it, but they can't find the person who did it. Okay. They could do what they want to do, man. If they wanted to take out Trump, Trump would be dead already. If they really wanted to take out Trump like they were pretending to do, Trump would be dead. That was high level witchcraft. High level witchcraft. Because people actually died in that particular thing, I believe. Okay? It says the Fed was created to reduce financial instability. It says boom and bust cycles. It says the Fed was created to reduce financial instability, but critics argue it helped cause major depressions, 1929, 2008. And that's exactly what it did. It caused the depression. It fueled that's what was the reason for the depressions, was this money backed by nothing. Artificially low interest rates and credit expansion have led to repeated crashes. See? Economic crashes caused by monetary policy have wiped out savings, jobs, and homes, took away your assets, took away your funds, okay? Reducing individual autonomy. You see that? So it's all about, that's not going to affect, first of all, there's something called insider trading. That's not going to affect the super rich, okay? They have the inside scoop on everything, okay? That affects the regular folks, whether you're a millionaire or not. You still, these millionaires, these are regular folks. We're dealing with the elites. We're dealing with trillionaires. We're dealing with, when it comes to their assets, they're trillionaires. Okay? It says increase government control over finance. Over time, central banking enable greater federal intervention in the economy and individual financial life. IRS access to bank records, more regulation, so on and so forth. So more slavery. It says, how does the CBDC affect liberties? Loss of privacy, right? Because they're going to know what you're buying, who you bought it from, at what time. They're going to know everything. Programmable spending, okay? CBDCs can be, and you could just put the stablecoin in place of that, because it's the same thing that they're releasing. CBDCs can be programmed to expire after a certain date, only be used for government-approved purchases, be disabled if you're flagged. KIG for protest, non-compliance, tax issues. There we go, man. That's total control. Okay, censorship and freezing of funds, which we saw that in that protest in Canada that they had years back. All right, you have dependency and control. Okay, so that's it. So you get the gist of the wickedness that these devils are doing and what it's leading to. Okay, and Trump is leading the charge, and you stupid MAGA people, which some brother said maggots, and that's what you are, maggots. You still believe in this, that Trump is all part of the plan. You're a damn idiot. It's clear as day he's working for the elites. It's clear as day he's more clear than Biden. This is Isaiah 10 or 1. It says, woe unto them that